Hey, do you feel like you're constantly pulled in two directions? You're trying to create better opportunities for yourself and your family through expansion, growing your business, growing yourself, working on a side hustle, but you also want to be a good husband and father. You feel the urge to provide for your family financially. You want to have them set. You want to make sure that they have at least what you never had growing up, and you want to leave a legacy. You truly want to serve your family, but there is this conflict, right? Because you are wanting to be as well what they really need, and that is your presence, the husband, that father. And it's hard to balance the two sometimes, right? Especially when you feel like you need to be working all the time, and there's doesn't seem to be enough time in the day. Have you ever had that feeling? Do you know that if you're experiencing that, you're not the only one, even though sometimes it does feel that way? It looks, you look around, you seem like other people who are getting ahead and crushing it and doing the things that you want to do. It seems like they have the time or the support, or they have they have an advantage, and somehow you're trying to at least get yourself going and establish yourself. And man, it's like uphill, molasses going uphill. Have you heard that saying before? Like molasses going uphill. You can imagine that imagery that creates, right? Slow process because they're coming back down and trying to get it up. It's tedious, right? Now, here's what happened. Would you believe that a whopping 70% of people like yourself and myself who are trying to do the very thing, that 70% grapple with this very thing? They may call it work-life balance, but they're grappling with that. But it also is true that another 60% confess they're they feel like little time is left for the ones that they love. Their wife, your wife, a husband, mainly a wife and children, right? But so in this video, what we're going to do in this video episode, we're going to talk about how to master the art of setting boundaries for work and home, because this is one of the, I believe, the key, the success to the success of what it is you're going after. Sometimes it's not so much what we're doing or not doing, is because we might not realize that what's really missing is this idea of setting boundaries so that you can achieve the harmony in your life where you feel like things are coming together. Yes, it may be counterintuitive to be thinking about boundaries when we're talking about you want to get your business going, you want to expand, you want to grow professionally and have, self-development. You see that as more the path, the entrepreneurial path, the side hustle to get yourself and your family situated financially. So what we're going to discuss in this video episode is that the importance of boundaries, how to set them effectively. What are boundaries? How to overcome some of the common challenges that as a husband, like you and I, we face regularly. And so I want to talk about some of those very things. And in doing so, let me just quickly say, I'm Kingsley Grant from Happier Marriage Secrets, where we are on a mission to help married Christian professionals like yourself overcome common relationship challenges and to build happier and more fulfilling marriages using a biblical and a scientific approach. Because here's what I find. We know the saying many times that, a happy wife, a happy life. And there's some truth to that. But I believe also a husband, right, that feels supported and gets the backing that he needs also leads to a happier life. So there are a number of things that goes into that. And it's just not as simply put as it sounds very rhyming and sounds really good to roll off the tongue. Happy wife, happy life. But there's a lot more nuances that goes along with that. So let's start off then by talking about boundaries. What are boundaries? Now, boundaries are limits that we set for ourselves and others in order to protect our time, our energy, and our overall well-being. They can be physical boundaries, emotional boundaries, or mental boundaries, but also, let's add spiritual boundaries as well. We've got to be able to go after the whole person, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and relationally. We've got to set those boundaries in our lives if we're going to be able to experience what it is you're working so hard to get into, to go after, right? To accomplish, to succeed at. So that is what boundaries are: limits that we set for ourselves and others, right? And others. Now, why are boundaries so important? Well, for a number of reasons that we will, you're not going to cover all that here, but let me just say that boundaries are important because they help us to avoid burnout. They help us to avoid burnout. I cannot tell you how many people have talked about how they feel very burnout in life and in their work, in their business, in their career. And I think part of that, because when I look at my coaching with those or counseling with those individuals, many of them will tell me that they feel as if the lines are blurred. There's no me time, there's no break. They just keep going and going and going. And sometimes it's not because they have to, but they just feel the pressure. It's the unspoken, is that voice in their head. And sometimes it's because they're trying to counter something that they're, maybe have been from a childhood. So it could be a number of things. So it avoids burnout. It helps to improve productivity. I'll say it helps to improve productivity. It strengthens our relationships if we are able to focus on the relationship we want to strengthen. It also helps us to reduce stress in our lives, and in essence, live a more balanced and harmonious life. That's what boundaries tends to do, or allows us to do. And the results of when we set effective boundaries, when we set the right kind of boundaries, when we are able to clearly identify what areas we need to set boundaries in at work and at home and how we set those, it will determine what our lives look like. I love what someone says, that boundaries are like underwear. They're essential, but you don't want to let everyone else see them, right? You don't want to let everyone see them. I mean, of course, nowadays, unfortunately, we live in a society that it seems to be the cool thing, the trendy thing to be showing your underwear. Both men and women are now doing that in a public manner. I'm thinking like, wait a minute, but I guess it's just where our society have gone. But that's not for me to judge. It's simply saying, it's like underwear. When you set boundaries, you don't have to go and broadcast all of them. You don't have to be, wearing a sign around your head. No, it is simply set. And sometimes it's you who set them for yourselves. And it may be unspoken. It may not be, articulated where people hear that, because sometimes you determine what you need for yourself and you set those boundaries. So how do you set boundaries in the workplace, right? And I'm going to mention a few things that determine on your situation. Like myself, who is a solopreneur, I'm self-employed. I have to set boundaries around my time and my energy, around, a number of things. Because if I don't, I can be my worst enemy. And you understand what that was like, as, if you are also self-employed or an entrepreneur, or if you are basically, in a leadership position, how sometimes we can find things to do, and because we don't have necessarily someone we are reporting to directly, per se, we tend to slack off and sometimes. But for the most part, when it comes to your work, you have to communicate those boundaries both verbally and non-verbally. You have to be able to say when you're available and when you're not. A lot of people are afraid of that because of their personality. They see it as offensive. They don't want to hurt someone else's feelings. But what happened is, at what price? The price of their own relationship at home with your wife and their children, because you don't want to hurt someone else's else's feelings. Well, guess what? You are already doing that because you're hurting your wife's and your children's feelings. The question is, whose feelings would you rather hurt? Others or your family? I think you would choose the latter if you're like myself, but sometimes we just don't look at it that way, right? We got to communicate that. We got to set clear work hours and stick to them. I know that sometimes it's very hard. As I talk about these things, I too grapple with this because sometimes I work from home and I'm home every day basically when I'm working, and I do most of my work from my office virtually. I do all my coaching and my counseling virtually. So sometimes the lines are blurred for me when it's time to finish my work. There's no set time. I cannot carry that over through my night, in my evening. And I find myself sometimes my wife will have to come to my office and knock at the door or look at me, and her looking is simply saying, hey, wait a minute. When does work finish? And I have to be sensitive and self-aware to realize that's what she's really saying. Thank God my children are much older now, but I can tell you, I can go back. If I could go back and change any one thing, the thing I would change is the times that I was not available as I should for my children, because I was so busy trying to make a life for them that I didn't have time to make life with them. And I miss some of those opportunities. I miss some of those times that I didn't make life with them, and because I'm working on making life for them. And that's a big difference right there. And I hope that resonates with you. So we're going to set clear hours. Avoid checking work things on non-work time. That is also challenging. I find myself, I have this idea where I have my days off, I call them, but I will be on my computer and I'm, researching things. An idea pops into my head. I may write it down someplace and I'm trying to research at the same time because I don't want to lose that momentum I think I have. But sometimes it feels like I'm always working. And, I love to work. I love to work on things that I feel are putting us in place to create a brighter future financially, and build a legacy for my family. So I tend to be in that mode and in that workspace. And sometimes it's hard to break away from that. And you understand that, right? It's hard. And that's where our challenges come in, when we are constantly we're on, and we never seem to have a time off. And it's so important to have time off because we rejuvenate, we get new ideas, we open room for things that we may not recognize that's really before us, that can also help us to accomplish the things we need to accomplish. Another way to set boundaries at work is to take breaks throughout the day. Again, like myself being self-employed, taking breaks are not so easy, right? I need to create those times. I love, what someone have talked about, the Pomodoro Pomodoro experience, where you work for say 25 minutes or 35 minutes and you're off 5 or 8 or 10 minutes, and then you go back to work. So you're taking a break every so often. But take lunch break. There was a time I would just really quickly grab something and come back to my desk because I feel like I need to get all the time and not, lose time. But I have created times where when it's lunchtime, I take a break. I get out of my office. I go to my kitchen, and my wife normally comes home for lunch. And when she's there, or if she's not there, I'll just have some lunch and stay away from my office for that full hour, because it's really important for me to do that. And sometimes during the day, I'll take a break and go outside with my dog, put him outside, and just, allow the sun rays to come in and just look around and experience that moment. Be away from everything, my phone, my computer, just be away, take breaks. That's how we set boundaries for ourselves and for others. If you are in a position to delegate tasks, you're also creating boundaries so that you can have margins in your life to do the most important thing, and that's be there for your family. Again, I know it's not easy, as I speak about it from a place where I also struggle. Now, when it comes to your home, at home, the boundaries in a home seem to be oxymorons, right? That doesn't seem to fit. It seems to be two polar opposite thoughts, but they're not. They're not. Because, for example, when I'm home, and because I work from home, and if I'm recording a video like this one or my podcast, Happy Marriage Secrets podcast, I need to be in a room shut away from all the distractions and all the noises. So I will close my door. That's a boundary I've created. And my wife knows that, and my one of my children who is at home still knows that. And so sometimes you may hear her earlier. You may hear my dog barking. I try to keep him away, as far away from my door as possible, so I can have quietness, because it's not, I'm trying to work with my clients in my coaching or my counseling, and the dog is barking at the door. The door is closed. Or my counseling, and the dog is barking at the door. The door is closed. But because he's so loyal to me, he wants to stay as close as possible. The older he gets, he finds himself staying closer, and he'll bark from the door. And he could go to the window or to the front, but no, he wants to stay by my door and bark. And that drives me crazy sometimes, right? But I gotta set a boundary. And sometimes I set up a crate like thing where I don't allow him to get into the hallway, because that is also an issue where a boundary is violated. So to keep him at bay sometimes. But we got to do those things at home. And also set aside time where, for example, every Friday evening, unless something very of emergency, every Friday evening is my date night. My wife and I will get out of the house. We'll do something. I want to get out of the house, but also it's creating a boundary around Friday evening. And so no one invites me. If someone invites me to go someplace with my wife, we said, I'm sorry, we have an appointment, or we have something to do. We'll tell them what it is, depends on the person, but we just have it's on a schedule. It's scheduled in. Because why? If we don't set that boundary, knowing myself, I'll work right through those times. I'll just want to push through, because I feel like if I only spend a few more hours, I could get it done and really get ourselves ahead, and and all of that. So it's very challenging sometimes when I want to also, when it comes to our finances, I gotta set a boundary even to myself, because I may want to spend money to buy this program, get this coaching program, this mastermind, go here for this event. Because why? I feel it's all in the sense of working for the family. But if I don't put a boundary around that, and held accountable, I would possibly get in trouble. So it's important to create those things for yourself, but also for those around you at home. Have a dedicated workspace. So when you're in the hallway, or depends on where you live, apartment or a house. In this case, in my house, my office is my dedicated workspace. Now, there are times I will go in my family room and just chill out there with my wife and watch something on television. Now, also breaks from social media and other electronic devices. That's a boundary. Sometimes you got to put that in place, because you know what you're working on. And what happened is how easy for us to get distracted, right? We go down this rabbit trail. We never intend to go there. And before long, we are spending hours in a place we never intended to go, right? Does that happen to you? Am I the only one? Come on now. I'm not the only one. So let's be real. And what happened is we spend some time wasting time sometimes, and so when we are with our family at home, those boundaries is so we can be present with them, especially if your children are younger than my children are. Then you really need to spend time, we say, with them. Like I said earlier, I thought I was working and doing everything for them, which was really true. That was in my intent, well intended. But in doing those things for them, I missed the times of doing life with them. I love what this quote where Richard Lecron, he said this: the greatest gift you can give someone is your undivided attention. So that is what we want to be able to do when it comes to our family, and setting boundaries, right? And studies have proven that setting boundaries isn't just a nice idea, it's a life changer, right? Because when you craft these boundaries, we'll unlock reduced stress, right? We're going to unlock reduced stress. We're going to unlock improved sleep quality, and we're going to supercharge our productivity. So it's not just a great idea, it is an essential idea. It is so important. I love what the Bible says in Matthew 7, verse 6, where Jesus was talking about, and he said, he says, do not give what is holy to the dogs, nor cast your pearls before swine. Now, what this verse teaches us, and you and me, is that the importance of safeguarding our time and our energy, right? That's one application of this verse. And invest in them where they're truly valued, because you don't throw pearls before swines, do you? Because a swine will trample that. It's not valued. It's not a valued thing. So be careful where you put your energy and your time. So the Bible it's warning us to safeguard this very, very important thing. Really, what it's saying in the essence is create boundaries for your life, right? Create boundaries for yourself. Jesus did that. So many times he would leave his very disciples, the very close ones to him, and he would go away and spend time in prayer with his Father. He created boundaries for his life because he knew how important that was for him. He knew is where he got his energy. He knew is where he could come back and deposit and invest in people and create supernatural things, miraculous things. So if you want something supernatural and miraculous in your life, then maybe we can learn some lessons from Jesus and create boundaries in our lives so we can have margins and do the things that we need to do and become more productive in our lives, right? Because we have this one life to live. And as someone like yourself, I've been there, I've done that, and I've worked, I'm working, I'm actually walking this path. I've walked and still am walking this path. And so I realize that we've got to do these things, because if you don't, what is going to happen is that we're going to get to the end and realize we didn't accomplish as much as we could have. Remember, setting boundaries isn't about holding back your entrepreneurial spirit, right? Your aspirations. It's about channeling channeling your spirit wisely for a successful business and more harmonious family life, right? Business and family life. If you want to have a more successful one, a more harmonious one, a one where you can feel encouraged and supported, and get your wife to be on your side because she feels like you're spending time and investing in her, so you're opening more channels for her to come alongside and support you, then this is why boundaries are so critical. Now, let me give one final thought here as we wrap things up. As you embark on this journey, right? As you're on this journey, know that you have the potential to redefine your business and family life, right? Through mindful, like I mentioned, for mindful boundary setting. Again, it's not a one size fits all. It's not a one-off thing, but it's a personal path, right? To your journey. And so sometimes you might need outside help, a coach. You might need a mentor. You might need a mastermind. You just might need a support group that can help you remain focused and grounded in your walk. Because find someone who's been there, who is there, and who is like-minded. So my question to you, I want to leave with you, is this: what are some boundaries that you need to set in your own life? What are some boundaries you need to set in your own life? Leave a comment below and let me know, right? Leave a comment below and let me know. With one other person just like yourself, I would truly appreciate that, and they would probably also appreciate it and be better off for you doing that. So again, please subscribe, and remember, there is a podcast I mentioned earlier, my Happier Marriage Secrets podcast, that is available, that covers other topics that I do. And also, if you want to gauge the state of your marriage and would love to have a quiz, a free quiz that you can take and get an immediate response about what your marriage might be, where it might be, and what might be needed to take it to the next level, then I want you to go to happiermarriagesecrets.com/quiz, happiermarriagesecrets.com/quiz. And all the links will be found in the description below. So if you missed something, please go there and find the links, click on that, and make certain that you get the resources and take that quiz. Again, thanks for subscribing. Thanks for listening. And until next time, I'm Kingsley Grant, empowering you to unlock a life of balance and success so you can have a happier and fulfilled marriage. Let's go make marriages happier again. Thank you, and God bless you.